Mack Rhoades with us with Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and David Smoak on 365 Sports. Garrett Ross running the mothership. Mack, thank you very much for your time. How would you describe, on a scale of 1 to 10, productivity last week in West Virginia?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I think productivity, meaning, a lot of things that we needed to discuss and have some extensive conversation about. So, yeah, I would say a 9 or a 10. Yeah, I'm not gonna say a 10, but probably a 9. There's a lot of things happening, and we had some really good conversations. The athletic directors by ourselves, the athletic directors with the president's chancellors. We had the SWAs there. Our faculty athletic representatives were there. We had a guest appearance by Charlie Baker. So all in all, the 2.5-3 days was they were very productive.
Mack, obviously there's a lot of talk about expansion and all this. Does Brett Yormark do things on go and find things out and then bring them to ADs and presidents, and then you guys work on other things, and he says, okay, here's what's going on, whether it's a realignment possibility or a TV possibility or whatever?
Yeah. So, one thing I would say about, Brett is he's really transparent. And so, he certainly, has a lot of conversations, with a number of people or, organizations, et cetera. And, he always brings those things back, whether it's, different initiatives, et cetera. And, so I think, we're all really, really grateful. Now we need to be, just quite frankly, we need to be responsible on how we handle that information. And, I think there has been a time or two where, we've had somebody in those meetings, in those rooms, go and share those with the media. And those times haven't really been helpful for us, the Big 12. And so, but I appreciate his transparency and his wanting to discuss and include certainly the athletic directors. And Brett, again, one of his greatest strengths, he's certainly learning and has learned a bunch, but he continues to learn, and he doesn't, again, pretend to know what he doesn't know. And he wants, those that are sitting in the chair, that are on campuses each and every day, he wants to afford, all of us the ability to weigh in.
Barry Trammell, who we had on last week from the Oklahoman, who has discussed Colorado and whatever options are there. We've discussed it, as you know. We've asked you about the possibility of expanding in football, but there was always the Gonzaga possibility, and then UConn has popped up as well. I've asked you about whether basketball only was an interest, but he is reporting that there is resistance within the conference in adding basketball only to the Big 12. Can you share any of that insight from you being in those meetings?
Yeah, again, I'm going to be careful, right? But I would say that using the word, resisting, or there's a resistance to, I would say that is probably stepping over the line, that isn't accurate. We didn't come out of the meetings with, any definitive decisions of including, excluding, any one particular, institution. As the whole world knows, we did have a conversation, but I would say that there was, robust discussion about, a lot of different institutions. And I certainly didn't walk away feeling like we had made any decision about, again, excluding anyone. And so, I would say that's and I'm not saying Barry Trammell misreported this at all, because I've got great respect for him. But I would say whatever he was told is a bit of a misrepresentation.
Mack, USC has an AD search. Mike Bond is out. They had contacted you, I believe, 3-4 years ago. Perhaps it was 2019. I'm remiss because I didn't ask you about this a couple of weeks ago when we had you on, but I don't see anything that's Smoak out there, but you would know. I mean, USC is one hell of a university that's moving into the Big Ten.
Yeah, and, so is Baylor University. And anytime my name comes up, it's just simply a reflection of, the great work that's been done here by, a collection of really, really talented people, staff, coaches, all of them. And so, I hope that, my name will continue to come up when there's openings, because that's just a sign of the again, terrific things that we're doing here at Baylor. And, we still have, we haven't hit our peak here at Baylor. And I continue to say our best days, lie ahead and are ahead of us. And so, that's where my focus is today.
Are you going to be in charge of when there are things still to be done at Baylor?
I hope to be, and I really, be candid. I have no idea where that process is with USC. It's, as you mentioned, a great institution. It's got, a great brand, but I have no idea where that process is today.
When that happens, there's an opening, and whether your name is thrown out there as speculation or not, does the school, the president, whoever is on the search committee, you're a part of that when you guys are looking for people, do you contact the agent of that person, or do you contact the person?
I think that, it's a good question. I think it varies. I think people do it differently. I don't know that you're asking this question, but, I don't know that, it's probably a little bit different than if you were a head football coach or men's basketball, women's basketball. Not every athletic director has an agent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have one that represents me. Not certainly full time. I use somebody when we, begin to work on contract, etc. But I don't ask that person to negotiate it on my behalf. I never have. I've always been the one to negotiate it. And I don't know if that's necessarily the smart thing to do, but that's the way I've always handled it. So people handle it different ways.
Have they officially contacted you?
No.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics, with us on 365 Sports. I had somebody want me to ask you about the scheduling. I know that there's a lot on the plate. 2025 seems like it's 10 years from now. Who knows what's going to happen? But you have Auburn, which is great, in 25 and 26, but there are no other non-conference games. Is that something you already have, you just haven't released it, or you're working on?
Yeah, I think that's something we're always working on, and we always want to play, and I think we hit a little bit of the pause button just to kind of see where we're going to land, with the TV contract and what, the TV contract dictated in terms of, the number of conference games we have to play. And would that change? Meaning, does it go from 9 to 8? Does it stay at 9? Does it go from 9 to 10, et cetera? And so, I think, for now, it's reasonable to say that we're going to be at 9 conference games. And so that provides some clarity. We certainly have, another home and home, on the schedule with a Power 5 that you didn't mention. And so feel good about that. And we'll continue to look and explore and, make sure that, we have that home and home with an attractive Power 5 every year. Obviously, we have Utah coming into the stadium, into McLean, this season, and then we'll follow up going to their place. Man, I wish Utah maybe wasn't as good as they are, but they're gonna come in, and that's gonna be a big time early test for us. So, but yeah, we're always gonna look to have that really high profile Power 5. And so it's got to be good for the football program. We certainly do think about, hey, what a great trip for our fans. And so when we get to go out to Salt Lake City, in the 24 season, that's going to be a great trip for our fans.
Mack, I remember talking about this with you a couple of years ago about scheduling after COVID, where you guys are making calls in like a week and saying, can you get here? Now, with knowing that it's maybe a little easier that everybody made it and that everybody's schedules are going to be changing in the 12-team playoff and that, do you expect to have to do deals a decade out anymore when it comes to non-conference games?
Paul, I think that's a really good question. And I think that it's still part of our DNA for whatever reason, and I haven't seen it change much, and so I still think we're in the habit of the practice of scheduling long term. The conversation that we're in the midst of conference expansion, and it's certainly not just the Big 12. It's all of the conferences. That hasn't been a deterrent from scheduling out, years in advance. And so we're going to continue to probably go down that pathway unless something, there's some type of market change that dictates otherwise.
Mack, when there are Power 5 conferences, Autonomy 5, including the Big 12, the SEC has spent a lot of time trying to figure out if they should go from 8 conference games to 9. Do you feel like with the expansion of the college football playoff around the corner that each Power 5 conference should play the same number of conference games?
Yeah, and I don't know, statistically, I haven't dug deep in what does that look like, right? But, if you were going to, have a, playoff and talk about, hey, this is the most fair, this is really, about crowning a true champion, everything leading up to it, you would like it to be consistent. And so I think it, starts with, certainly the number of conference games, and, everybody's playing that same amount. And then, hey, non-conference, and you can play an FBS, but only one, right? And then everybody's got to play another A5 non-conference opponent. You would like to be or see that consistency throughout, because there's so many different nuances in terms of how how you can schedule and how you can put yourself in best position now to get, or to be one of the top 12. So, I don't know if that will happen here in the future. I think, again, without seeing anything statistically, like right now, I would certainly vote in favor of trying to have that consistency.
So Auburn 25-26, Oregon 27-28. Those are set in stone, and then you just kind of fill in the blanks, or am I missing somebody?
No, you've got it, and we're working on some others.
Would you do me a favor and take a vacation so something will finally happen in college football?
That's probably why I won't. So, or if I do, it's not going to be to New Mexico. So.
All right.
Do you have to go east now to make sure?
Yeah,
like every time you
around.
go west, something happens.
Yeah, I hope I need to go and continue to go up, because somebody said that like next week it's going to start to be 100, 103 year, and so at some point in time I'm going to get into some higher elevation.
Hey, man, Mac, thank you very much. We appreciate your time and also the insight on last week, what's going on right now, and also any speculation about USC. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, bud. Yep.
Mack Rhoades, Baylor Director of Athletics on 365 Sports.
Yeah, I mean, interesting to hear